Coach, new season, new show. We're calling it Bronco On-The-Go here at Bam Bam's, which recently has become a new friend of the program.
Yeah, Bam Bam, Bronco, On-The-Go, just kind of fits, doesn't it?
Kind of all goes together, some alliteration,
I like it.
And then some. You enjoy the fare here, by the way?
Ooh, so good. And the logo. So not only is the food good, but the pig with the crossbones. On it. Oh.
It's the kind of logo that might look good on a helmet.
So I'm thinking offensive lineman run over a defensive lineman, Bam Bam logo rather than the cougar on the back, and then possibly lunch at Bam Bam's with that.
Guys would
Incentive.
like that.
Incentive,
motivation,
like yeah.
And perhaps only minimal NCAA violations.
Bam Bam award. We'll worry about that later.
Yeah. As we get set for the new season, I've been asked by local media to do a few interviews, and invariably they ask me, does Bronco seem looser to you this season? What's the right answer to that?
Do I seem loose? Is that comparative to how loose I've been before?
Yeah, comparative to previous seasons, you seem a little maybe less wound up and more open, more free to have fun. Is that a fair assessment? How do you judge it?
Yeah, I like to think of when you think of Bronco, Mendenhall, fun, those two
They've
things
always kind of gone
come
right together.
Right together, yeah.
Do you have a bit of a different attitude this year going into it?
Working hard too. Man, a lot of changes after 10 years, and now having coordinators at offense and at defense and at special teams that I think are really skilled and capable. Working hard on building relationships with team members, and yeah, if it's noticeable from the outside, good.
If you've gone from a more specialized role to that of an oversight role, is it just time for you? Does it feel like the right time to have done that?
I think so. I've pondered it for a long time, and really hard to give up the defense, just because it's fun. I like it. A lot of the head coaching responsibilities aren't so fun. That was fun. However, man, I've had the players at my house every Sunday during fall camp, and they've been around my family, and they've been on horses, and they're not quite sure what to think right now, if this is real or not. But it feels good, and it feels natural in terms of the time. After now 12 years, 2 as an assistant and 10, or going on my 10th as the head coach, I think what's necessary for the program to move forward is not only great schemes, but also great relationships.
So these kind of activities you just mentioned, that is a bit of a change from the past then, right?
Yeah, significant change. And so when I offered the invitation to the players, they weren't quite sure if that was mandatory or did they have to go. And there were a few brave ones that came the first time and actually had a good time, and so the number keeps growing. And so I think there's a lot of positive going on. And my hope is that the relationships, which are the lasting part of this whole thing, can be built maybe at a deeper level because of that.
There are probably going to be certain players, offensively maybe more particularly, that might leave BYU here in coming years with a different impression of you than maybe offensive players of years past. I think the defensive guys you've been closer to naturally. Yeah. Maybe some of those offensive guys might think differently just about you.
I hope so, and out of necessity, but also out of maybe just what I thought was best for the program to keep points down to win games. I've played a dual role of head coach / defensive coordinator, so I've been very close to half the team, not all the team. And it would be much like being part of a family or as a parent, and you spend the majority of your time with one of your children, even though you love them all. Mm-hmm. There's a different relationship just based on time. And so most of my time from the spring to now will be spent with the offensive side of the ball, and playing catch up a little bit in terms of not only oversight but relationships. But there will still be plenty of time, I think, for the defensive players to know I care about them and see my hand at the right moments through the season.
So from top to bottom, offense to defense will include special teams. How do you feel about this year's group right now?
Man, I like this team. Really at every position, I would say, coming out of fall camp, going into our opener against UConn. At quarterback, I feel like we have enough depth for the season because of how Christian Stewart is playing. Running back, I think we have enough depth. Tight end, I think we have enough depth. Receiver, I think we have enough depth. By the way, when I say depth, that means quality and depth.
Not just bodies.
Exactly right. Offensive line, enough depth, meaning quality depth. Defensive line, probably the deepest we've been. Inside linebacker, yes. Outside linebacker, yes. Corner, yes. Safety, yes. Punter, yes. Kicker, yes. Snapper, yes. So as we come out of fall camp, in terms of quality of players and the quantity that we have, I'm not sure we've ever had as many good players at the same time with as much competition as we have now, and so I like our team.
Now, during camp, you haven't had maybe as many of those players all on the field at the same time because of injuries and various things, and so it's been a little bit hit and miss that way. How confident are you that by the time you guys hit the field in East Hartford that enough guys will have gotten enough reps to give you a good chance to win the game?
That really is the task of every head coach as you get closer to that first game after you've gone through fall camp and you have competition of trying to break ties and put the right players together, not only in terms of productivity but chemistry. Sometimes the best players don't make the best unit. Sometimes complementary natures of players out there make the best unit, and so really the majority of our time as a staff leading up to the first game is really that part of what is the best combination of personalities and skill set and dynamic that will give us the best performance.
You're going to have to be deep because the group you put out there in game 1 may not be the same group that you put out there in game 2, let alone game 10. You feel good about the chance to make it through the early part and keep it going?
Yeah, as good as I've ever felt at this stage, again, just by sheer numbers and quality of players. Could there be a rash of injuries? Yep. Could there be a mistake or two off the field by players? Certainly. Could there be academic issues? I mean, these are all young people, and so in the almost 12 years I've been at BYU, all those things are possible. If you had to say now a point to launch from, I like where we're starting from in terms of all the right reasons.
Does the role of, this is going to sound almost ecclesiastical a little bit, but shepherd, has that role changed over the years to you? How do you view it now?
Yeah, it certainly has, and that has had a lot to do with the decision I made to not coach the defense, is to ensure that the kids that trusted me, the young men that trusted me enough to come here, receive the very best care possible, knowing that the admission standards at BYU keep going up. The visibility on the young people keeps going up. The expectations keep going up. And really, Provo, Utah is a very unique place, especially for young men that aren't members of the LDS faith, and especially if they happen to be from different parts of the country or have different cultural backgrounds. And so I don't feel like I was doing enough that way. And so I'm looking forward to that.
It's a new coaching staff you'll face when you play UConn in the opener, yet it's a new head coach that has experience against you and your teams and against Taysom Hill, as he's been the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame the last 2 years, Bob Diaco.
So if you happen to have a new staff, this is one of the best scenarios in that the head coach, much like myself, was a defensive coordinator most likely and is remaining as the defensive coordinator, so the chance that they're significantly different than what they've been, probably not. And so our past preparation should be helpful. And then when you look at the offensive coordinator and where he's coming from and looking at the system that's been run at Central Michigan or at Western Michigan, etc. And Coach Holliday on our staff has actually worked with some members of that staff. We're not starting from ground zero. We actually have some insight as to what might happen. And really for the opener, there still will be matchup and adjustment on game day, but you're going to play your best stuff anyway, and whoever executes it best will win.
It's not ground zero, but it is square one.
Yeah.
How important is this first game of the season compared to maybe previous openers?
It's certainly important when you consider there's a lot of, for any team that's playing, the first game's important, but when you consider being an independent, it's even more so because there is no conference race after that.
Right.
It's really the body of work that you have at the end of the season that's accounted for, and that includes the first game. And we dropped our opener a year ago in a game that certainly was really disappointing, and would love to play it again. But one or two plays can make the difference against any opponent in the opener. Starting 1-0 and carrying some momentum into the second week certainly captures national attention, certainly kind of verifies what others think about the program going in. If you drop a game early, it takes you about till game 8 or 9 through a really strong winning streak to even be acknowledged again. And that's just, we've been through that.
And it seems to me that fast starts are kind of a mantra right now with this program.
We have been, man, when you consider independence, the strength of schedule is usually front-loaded, and it hasn't been necessarily that we haven't played well on our opener. It's sustaining real quality play through the first 3 or 4 games, and that will be the same this year, where we have a really strong beginning of the season with unique challenges. But when we are able to pull that off, that stages you pretty strongly for what this season could bring.
We hope that there's a strong start to this season. I think we've had a good start here at Bam Bams for our first episode of Bronco on the Go. I think it's time for you to do some artwork now.
Oh, nice. I'm ready. Was there like a ready, set, go, or should I just be drawing?
I think it's kind of...
Okay, yeah, game number 1, Yukon, mascot for Yukon?
Huskies.
Huskies, all right, so we might as well shoot for the Huskies. So easy to go with the eyes first, and then I like to add a strong nose feature. It's kind of dog-like, I think, and so what I'm going to add is some bushiness around, maybe some ears right there, tongue hanging out right there, and then maybe the Yukon logo underneath. How's that?
1 down, 11 to go.
That's not bad.
Good.
Yeah, that's good.